Okay, so one of the very first lessons that I got to learn really early on in my career was the importance of networking. My first job, like most of us, was right out of school, and it was one of those pay the bills kind of jobs. And after about, a year and a half, 2 years in, I knew it wasn't the job for me, and I knew it wasn't the company for me. And I started, though, worrying about, how was I going to get a new job? Now, you always hear that, you don't get jobs from applying in the paper and you have to have a network. Well, I just graduated from school. My network was former unemployed, students like myself. And so what I decided to do was to go the volunteer route and start to gain some experience. I wanted to get into public relations at that time. I was in advertising. And so what I did was I volunteered for the Big Sisters Association on their marketing committee. And I met some amazing women, and it exposed me to people who I never would have met otherwise. Lawyers, stockbrokers, traders, people like that. And through that, I had the opportunity to actually go and work for the Big Sisters Association. The marketing manager decided to go on a one-year sabbatical, and I applied for the job. I know for a fact I never would have got that position if I hadn't had a year of being on that committee, working with those people very closely. And so that when it came up, and they went through a formal interview process, but because I already knew everybody and I already knew the events and it was just a one-year sabbatical, I was given the position. And that was a pivotal role for me. It allowed me to move away from the position that I was into this organization that gave me huge exposure to many, many people. I was the fundraiser, and allowed me then to pivot into my next role after that. But that lesson of building a network, having connections beyond your organization is one that I never forgot. And what I see happen often, and we all fall into the trap, the more senior we get, the higher up we go in our organization, the busier we get, the more head down we get, and we start to neglect that network. But today, it is so much about relationships. And what we have to do is we have to really look for how we're building and maintaining our network. Somebody once said to me, your network is your net worth. That was such a powerful statement. Your network is your net worth. And when you think of it that way as this key tool for you to build your career, manage your career, and have future opportunities, it's one that we just, as I think especially when you're in the middle of your career, it's one that you can't afford to ignore. And I think a lot of people think about networking as this very complicated, awful experience. I'm going to go to an event to clutch a glass of wine and stand in a corner, and it's going to be terrible. What I learned in that very first job, because I was fortunate, it was for a charity and people wanted to help. And for me, that's what networking always was synonymous with. Networking was about helping. It was about giving. And this idea of taking it from networking to net giving is one that I've really held on to again through all these years. So when I meet somebody, I always think first about how can I help them? What is it that I can do for them? And it's always continued to pay off for me. I think if you give out a little, you get back what you give out.